we've always talked about families, but what we forget in turn is we don't know whom to give the emphasis to, whether the daddy or the mummy, or maybe the both of them together. But in all this, there has been an osmosis of India's bachelor dads, and it's important to meet them. Here is a forum that explores that. We have with us joining online Ekta Kapoor. It's an audacity to introduce Ekta, but yes, for all of us, she's a game changer in the landscape of Indian television, and now with a significant repertoire of work as a film producer, she's also forayed successfully with India's premier homegrown OTT platform, and I repeat that word, homegrown OTT platform, Alt Balaji. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the one and only Ekta Kapoor with us, joining online to meet India's Bachelor Dad. We have Tusshar Kapoor, who's a prolific actor and was also recently authored a book titled Bachelor Dad, My Journey to Fatherhood and More, an exceptional and insightful account about the process of raising a child as a single father in India. And I had the privilege of listening to Kunal on a Barkhadat show in Calcutta, and he was fabulous, and I'm sure you will enjoy listening to Tusshar. The moderator for this session is celebrity herself, Kaveree Bamzai, who's and the Emergence of New India, the new book that she's written. She was the first and our only woman editor of India Today. Kaveree has been a journalist for over 30 years, and I personally am a fan of her columns and things on lifestyle and cinema. Ladies and gentlemen, with Ekta Kapoor, Tusshar Kapoor, and Kaveree Bamzai. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, he was getting his voice was going
a couple
of times, so I'm hoping
I hope it doesn't happen to us. So welcome Ekta and Tusshar, who also happen to be siblings, in case you didn't know. I know, I'm sure the whole world knows, but it's so wonderful because I want to start with Ekta, not just because she's older, but because she's a woman as well. Tusshar, am I right? She is older, right?
Yes, she's a bit older, yes.
Just by a year, I think.
Yes.
But I know all the elder siblings want to always be the younger ones. I have the same problem at home. But Ekta, I really want to start with you because, I feel you don't get enough credit for talking about families and for putting families center stage into the cultural space, as you did in 2000, and you continue to do. And the way the family has changed. Actually, if you look at your television shows, you can actually map way, and your movies, you can actually map the way families have changed over the years. So I wanted you to briefly talk about that, because that's really how we've come to where we are now, that we accept blended families, we talk about bachelor dads, we talk about singleton mums, and I'm so delighted that we're here at this point. Talk a little about that, Ekta.
So actually, if you go to see, every generation has their own worst fight. So if you see about 2000, a lot of women in family setups did not have a voice in household issues, And some of the important issues, like starting off when you're older, which we made a character called Bardu, or fighting, taking up the issue of marital rape, or even because there's no law for or against it, which, there is no proper law to stop it. There is enough issues we did pick up, but being with every generation that passes, and I personally consider myself a certain amount of having a certain amount of understanding of society through history, that you fight battles that later on don't look like battles anymore. Right. And that's the biggest, because only once those battles are fought and there are enough people, now women take an active interest in home issues. Women at any age can start their careers. So now these don't look like wars that people have to fight at home. And so the shows, if you see them in hindsight, they look like they probably took up redundant issues, which were probably burning issues at that time, And
exactly. So I mean,
that's that.
That's so true, Ekta. I mean, what seems to be regressive at one point in hindsight becomes so progressive, or what seems progressive at that point seems regressive. That's really the cycle of history. But what has
Yeah.
always struck me, Ekta, that you have your ear to the cultural ground of this country. So I wonder how you do it.
I personally think that there is in India has a popular culture for escapism. While a lot of people relate to art differently, somebody finds art relatable, somebody finds art cathartic, somebody finds art um, uh, a voice of their own. Mass India finds it to be their source of escapism. You see, we don't realize that a lot of people criticize Indian shows with the need for suspension of reality. But that's exactly what Indian audiences want from Indian content. They are so tired with the daily struggles and daily issues that when they go in to watch entertainment, they want unadulterated, entertaining escapism. And a person who has first world problems, without taking away those problems from them, does not understand this need for escapism or this need for flights of fancy in entertainment, because they feel that it's crass, it's massy, it's unrelatable. Well, it isn't for everyone. So I think that constant divide makes people not understand what masses want. And I try to see that I understand that if I am working the whole week and I have only this much money to spend in a country like ours, I would want to go in for escapism. And that you could call as keeping my ear on the ground.
It certainly is. Which brings me to Tushar. One of the most remarkable things about reading Bachelor Dad, Tushar, was the amount of effort that actually goes into parenting, which we sort of somehow tend to gloss over. It is, of course, a joyous experience, but it is a lot of work as well. And what struck me was how observant you were about your son at all times, sometimes to the point of over controlling. But talk a little about that whole idea of the father being a co-parent or an equal parent, or in your case, a single parent. The father is somewhat missing from this whole landscape that we have of Mother India as the primary parent.
Yeah, I hope, not intentionally, but I hope I've kind of broken certain stereotypes about how we view the roles of women and men as far as families and upbringing is concerned. And someone also asked me this question that, it must be quite time consuming, especially for you because you're a single parent and you're a man.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take any credit for really being single. And I think I've addressed that issue also in this book, that just because I'm a man and who's an actor, who's single, and I'm raising my son myself, doesn't mean it gets any harder for me. Because even in the normal, stereotypical, conventional families where you have both parents, a number of times, like you just said, the father is virtually absent.
Yeah.
So it is a single parent at the end of the day. Sometimes families have parents who are very involved, but both the parents are working. So hands-on parenting from any angle, in any any way you look at it, is going to be challenging. Sometimes parents are not living together, they divorce. Sometimes the relationship is long distance. So and even otherwise, if both the parents are there, it's a normal family, everything is perfect, there are going to be unforeseen circumstances, there are going to be challenges, and bringing a child up is going to bring those unnecessary curveballs every now and then, which you will not anticipate. So I don't have it any harder or any easier, or it's the same for all of us. It might just look like from the outside that I have it more challenging, or I'm doing some great thing, but that's a misconception I wanted to address through this book. That it's all about actually dealing with your own questions, your own challenges, and finding the answers to your own imperfections. It's not better or worse, and you can't really compare. So I hope that comes through in the book.
It does. And Ekta, wanted to bring you in here as well. You've, as Tushar had once told me, of course you come from this wonderful family, but your father was very busy when, he was working. So you were more or less raised by your mom, although your father was very much there, but your mom was your primary caregiver. As a mother now, how do you see this whole journey of motherhood, which you have, often celebrated, often examined very closely. I mean, the mother is the central figure in a lot of the families that you have chronicled. So what is it like for you, living it now?
So I personally believe that these, like Tushar said, and I'll tell you also, ma'am, that these stereotypical gender-based thought processes now are so broken, because I don't identify with half the mothers, not even my own. You know, I'm so like, I feel I'm always lost. I'm not this natural parent like Tushar is. I'm like grappling. I'm always messing up. I'm always taking Tushar's advice on how to do my job. I feel I have far more grip over my work than over my son, and I'm constantly on a guilt trip about what I can do. I'm learning with him. So I personally see a lot of mothers around me who are so good at it. And my brother, I mean, like, I can't tell you how good he is at it. So I feel that this thing that, as a mother, I mean, as a mother, as a line only is very tough for me, because as a mother, it must be coming naturally to you. No,
Yeah,
it
I know.
doesn't.
And you want to say, hey, no, it's tough. It's
I'm,
really tough.
I'm like every day I realize that, oh shit, I did this wrong. Oh shit, I gotta do this. Someone that you can't feed him chocolate. Someone says, give him sugar free. So I'm grappling, and I personally think that, see, parenting is a natural progression for some, and some it's not, and it doesn't happen to be your gender. Just because you're a woman, it doesn't mean you just become a fantastic parent, and just because you're a man doesn't mean that it'll come harder to you. To Shar, it came naturally too. To me, it's been a hard process. Trust me, I know how much I go through when I'm not good at it.
But Ekta, that is precisely the sentiment I had. And I've now had children who my children are quite old. When I read Tushar's book, I said, oh God, I wish this had come to me 24 years earlier. I would have learned a lot more. It's bang on. I think this whole idea that we have of this perfect mother and these WhatsApp groups, it's scary, isn't it?
No, I'm on a very interesting WhatsApp group. They're very nice, the mothers.
Yeah.
But sometimes a random question will come. How do you manage without a husband? Where are you not married? Like guys, relax. It's not like it's that tough. Because I have a brother, and we may not have a conventional family, but we probably have worked around each other's flaws.
Yeah.
And we are probably doing joint parenting in a way that probably doesn't look like anything that came out of any of my shows. But that's where life is, the irony of life.
I would love to put a camera in your family. That's the ultimate reality show. Tushar, talk about the whole idea of offering advice, parenting advice to your big sister. How does it feel?
Well, I don't need to give her any parenting advice, because maybe, like you said, I tend to be a little more controlling, because I've read so much about bringing up children, and I'm a little OCD by nature, so sometimes I do get a bit controlling. So I'm learning with my own flaws every day. So I need to let go at times, which is also unlearning of another kind, which I try to do every day. That okay, there's only this much that I can control, and there's only this much that I can protect my son from. The rest, he better handle it and sort it for himself.
Absolutely.
So there are times when I just let go and tell him, buddy, deal with it. I can't help you. I'm not there. You deal with it. So I'm actually now trying to metamorphosize into somebody who's also got that information, and who's probably, you say, a little more naturally inclined towards parenting, which I don't agree. I think we all have those instincts. But I try and avoid those WhatsApp groups for sure. Going back to your previous question, I am out of all the WhatsApp groups. I'm on mute in the schools group, because when you listen to a lot of these moms, and they're all good, they're over involved, then maybe I think you start forgetting rationality, and you start forgetting what is naturally, obviously applicable to your child. You start going by what is cool, what is in, and schools become like handbags. So I don't want to get into that zone at all. So I kind of stay with it.
I love that line, But Ekta, when Tushar took the decision to become a dad, what was the family dynamics? What did people think? And then I'll come to Tushar about it. What did your family think?
My family was far more supportive than we imagined,
Hmm.
but like it was new. Everybody was like, what's gonna happen? Like Tushar is doing this, how will he manage? So
Yeah,
honestly, as a family, we're pretty clear that we're not concerned about the world, you know. From
right.
being a young producer, I have got trolled for everything that I have done in life, you know. So, you know, you just realize that, you know, there's not, that is not going to be an issue, you know, what people think. But how will you manage? How is it going to
Hmm.
happen? You know, you don't have any yardstick. He took a decision when no one had become, like, at least around us,
Yeah,
had become a surrogate parent, and it was one of the most fantastic decisions of his life, I think he took. So honestly, we were very happy because never, no, because none of us were married. No one imagined that there would be children in the house, you know. And finally, like Tushar had taken this call, and there were going to be children. And then the relatives, of course, mom's one friend was fantastic. She said, "You got kids without the in-laws." So,
oh, that's
you know,
great.
so that was nice. But I would like to address something that Tushar said here. You know, he is such a, he may look like an OCD parent. I have seen him on a group of 8 mummies. He's the ninth one, and he's so good at what they're doing. They were doing some dance, and he was like with it, and there were all these women, and none of the fathers were there. And I was like, this boy will set an example. Some single dad will say, oh man, this is
Yeah,
something I need. You need to own your child. It's so sad when I see only moms taking interest in children, you know. And
yeah,
it's almost disheartening when you see very rarely parent fathers coming to pick up their kids, or hanging there and going into play schools with their kids, or taking these discussions. It's really, it's a very slanted parenting thing that Tushar has broken, the stereotype, you know.
absolutely.
Don't give me so much credit, because I shy away from competition where parenting is concerned, because all the moms and dads whom I meet at those play areas, they're so competitive. So I am zipping in and I'm zipping out of those events. And I talk to a few parents who are more interested in their children than in what the other parents are doing. But a lot of parents have, they're competing about everything, which is great. They're involved, they're doing a damn good job. But I stay away from that side, and I just like to do things from my own gut feeling and my gut instinct. So don't put me on a pedestal. मुझे competition बिल्कुल नहीं चाहिए. Yeah.
But Tushar, when you told your dad and mom about it, I know you. I read the book. You told your mom first, and then she told your dad. Although you told her not to. But what was that like? And were you surprised, as Ekta says, were you surprised by their reaction?
I told mom after the IVF was successful and just when the surrogacy was going to begin. So to be very honest, I went with Dr. Firuza Pari's instructions. She said, now you tell your mom, now you tell your dad, now you tell your
Yeah,
sister, because she wanted to keep it very, very quiet because the laws are very strict.
right.
So I told mom first, and she was casually surprised. I don't know if that's the right description. Casually surprised, and she was very supportive, and she said that your decision, you're going to be 40 next year. It's up to you to decide, and if you're ready, we're with you. But hey, buddy, we will be grandparents. She just gave me that warning that this is not child's play,
Hmm.
and I respect your decision, but you will have to take the onyx. You will have to take that extra mile
Right.
and carry on the responsibilities, because we can only help. We can't be parents at
Yeah.
at the age that they were in at that time. They
Yeah.
were just saying that the energy levels are not as high as a parent needs to
Exactly.
be. So and then I told her, don't tell dad. I'll tell him in due course of time. But I like all moms, and I said this in the book also. She spilled the beans. She said I couldn't keep it inside, and I was too anxious, and I went and told him. And the biggest surprise was his reaction, because he's very conservative. He's
Yeah.
hardcore Indian man, and he's very by the norms and by the tradition. That
He's
kind
a
of a person.
Himatwala.
He's a Himmatwala. So I thought he would probably get a bit more scandalized. He'd be nice, but scandalized. But he wasn't scandalized. He was so cool. He said that ठीक है ना, इस अगर उसको अपने अंदर की आवाज पता है तो ये अच्छा है ना, शादी करके डिवोर्स होने से तो यही बेटर है. So I was like, wow,
What?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
but Ekta, isn't it true? Often we don't give our parents enough credit, no? We just assume
We
that
don't.
they're going to be like this.
So I think we also have to explain, and I think there's an age where you learn from your parents, and after an age you teach your parents, and
Yeah,
that's how life is.
absolutely.
And I think my parents have learned along with us that what they imagined our lives to be was not how they imagined it, and they finally come to terms with the fact that as long as we are happy, and we're not hurting anyone, that's the life we want to lead, then that's the life we should lead, So parents also learn. And I think if your parents love you, they will realize that what they imagine you to be and what you are might be very, very different, And that acceptance, I think now me and Tushar are, because it was a journey for our parents, for us, it is now going to be easier to tell our children to live the lives they want and not imagine, oh, my son should do this. Oh, yaar, my daughter is not married. She's 28. इतना career होने के बाद भी शादी नहीं हुई उसकी. कब settle होगी? कब settle? Then eventually at 35, they're like, अच्छा, तू settled है, happy है, ठीक है. So that journey they went through with me and then Tushar also. We didn't lead the conventional lives that people do, and yet we maintained the warmth in a family. We probably are the most dysfunctional, functional family.
Absolutely. Dysfunctionally happy. What can be better than that, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I don't want tomorrow a parent to feel that, because you're single, marriage has not worked, you've not got the right partner in your life, you should not have a full life. If any of us have done it, somebody else can.
Yeah, absolutely. Tushar, I loved the moment of truth in your book when you had to go to meet this woman who was supposed to be an arranged match for you, and you had a tour of a property, etc., and then you came back and you said, never, never again. That, I think, for you was the moment of truth. Talk a little about that.
Yeah, that was like I think that was the funny part in the book, because I literally had to go through that. And I just, आंख बंद करके मैंने बोल दिया, I'm doing this for my family. And it's like that bitter pill that you just have to swallow and you're done with it. I went on that flight, and I'm anyways a bit of a shy person, and to really go and be this prospect of an arranged marriage and to be judged and to judge and be judged in that manner in another state, in another person's estate, I don't know how I did it, but I think I just kind of went on autopilot and I completed all the necessary procedures. And I didn't know this was happening. And the frequencies didn't match. The person whom I met, she was probably one of the most eligible and the nicest person, but somehow the frequencies didn't match. And the parents, I don't want to reveal this because it's in the book, but I can say that the parents sensed that, like all parents do, and they tried their best to actually kind of bring some commonality. Some commonality between the two of us, but it still didn't work. All I was waiting for was kab sham hoga, kab meri airport jaane ka, when will I be late for the airport so I can leave? So that's all I was waiting for it to happen. But I said, this is something that I should write, because I think everybody goes through, we all, even as those who eventually do get married, it's a bumpy ride. I mean, I found my true calling being single, but those who find their true calling within the challenges of a marriage, they also have it quite difficult. And sometimes things don't work out with the people they love. Sometimes they find an arranged marriage and it doesn't work out, the engagements break. So life is, there are no shortcuts for anybody. So I guess that's what this incident is all about. But I think it was funny. Which is why I wanted it to be in the book also.
Yeah, that's one of the things I loved about your book. It was, there's a lot of heart in it, but it was funny as well, a lot of humor. And I think that's what you need in spades as a parent, right? If you're too serious about it, you're sunk. You'll never make it.
Yes. I used to shout at my son a little bit in the beginning because I think we're just hardwired like that as parents.
And always anxious, you're anxious.
Yeah. ये ज़्यादा मस्ती नहीं करने लगे या कम मस्ती नहीं करने लगे. Both ways you start over analyzing and then you get a bit angry. So this was someone told me that, you just can't lose it on your kids, no matter what they do. Even if they're hitting other kids, explain to them. You can't lose it. So that is one flaw, I would say, that is really something I'm still working on, is patience. And that's what just works best with kids, is the idea that no matter how much they don't listen to you, even if you're telling them, you're explaining to them, they're still listening to you. And they will absorb it. So you just have to wait it out. And that's how it works out. So I hope I'm learning fast, because I need to learn that aspect of being a good parent.
I wish I had learned it. Ekta, what is it for you that this experience has taught you? What does your son teach you every day? And, I think we learn more from them than they learn from us. Maybe it's both ways. But what does that teach you?
So my son, I'm like, I'm the should I say the bridey parent? Like, I'm very guilty. I'm not like Tushar. He's very strict and very good with his son. I'm like, okay, if I give him a chocolate, will he stop crying? I'm like just so wrong at times. And then my mother comes into it. But what I learned every day from my son is that I have seen a new human being in front of me find his personality. He has his likes and dislikes, and I'm now understanding that what I imagined him to be, he may be a bit different than that, and that's great. Like, I think we are hard on our kids as parents. I mean, he had to start speaking at 2. He had just started speaking few words, and it was making me panic. And I was like, eventually, I realized acceptance with your kids is as important, And while I'm working to making him as good as other kids, I'm like, okay, he'll take his time, but that's cool.
Absolutely. Tushar, you?
What have I learned?
Yeah.
I think I'm just like I said earlier, I'm learning every day. But I think through this process of interviews, there are few conversations that I've had, like with yourself and with a couple of other speakers also during the release of this book. I've just obviously the biggest thing that has been embedded now is the fact that there's no normal family, because a lot of times I have been asked that, okay, now can we go into very uncomfortable territory, and it's obviously about the fact that our kids while growing up might get questioned by their peers in school. So I've always wondered, I've always told, I mean, in fact, I've learned that, okay, I should tell those people who are having those conversations with me that, okay, why is it an uncomfortable question?
Yeah.
It's not uncomfortable for me, for me at all. I announced my son to the world, how he was born and what happened. I made a press release, I announced it. So I'm not uncomfortable at all. And what about those families where either the family is broken, either the parent is working in another country, or sometimes you've lost a spouse. I mean,
or you're together and you're not happy.
Yes, you're together and so they also have a lot of discomfort, but I don't think we see. I think we accept that. Okay, theek hai, wo to wo deal kar lenge. They know how to deal with it.
Right.
So even I know how to deal with my situation in that sense. Why am I at times being singled out? Because maybe we are probably the first in one of a kind. So I guess maybe 5 to 10 years later, we won't be asked that question also. So the idea that there's no real definition of a normal family, I think that's something that I've relearned while talking to a lot of people during the release of this book. The fact that everybody gets questioned. Like our dad was an actor. We used to get questioned in school about his movies, and sometimes the movies didn't work, so we were questioned about those.
Really?
So it wasn't easy.
You were asked. So, I mean, why should that affect people? But they asked you. They would ask you.
So maybe at times if there is one parent coming to school, like in the case of another child, and the other parent doesn't come for the PTA meeting, that child will be questioned. So nobody is spared. This is life. This is growing up. There are going to be some struggles we all are going to go through, no matter what family we are from. So there's no normal family where everything is perfect. And if it looks very perfect, that's some trouble there for sure.
Warning signs. There's some Ekta Kapoor villain working in the background. Some Nagin waiting to strike or something.
Yeah, true.
But Ekta, that's the thing. I think what Tushar said. That judgment. This whole idea that we're so judgmental. Hello, Mr. Jitendra.
He passed that. Special appearance.
Wow, we're really lucky. But Ekta, that whole idea of judgment, and we're so hard on others. We're so hard on ourselves. We're always thinking, what will people think? We have to, when will we get out of it?
I think we have to first get out of it ourselves. When we stop judging ourselves and lead the life we want to lead, then we will not judge anyone who wants to lead the life they want to lead, It's actually a vicious cycle that we have to now live with. So, like, I'll just tell you something which is very interesting. Like, somebody asked me, how will you tell your child that, you're a single parent and you went for surrogacy? And my answer was, first of all, there's Tushar, luckily for me. Secondly, I'm like, I'll tell that there is no fairy tales. I mean, protect our kids into these extremely like उनको कुछ पता नहीं होना चाहिए. They should have the most normal. Is the world normal? No. The world is full of flaws. The world is absolutely full of. It's the real world. That's why they go and get absolutely shocked in the real world. Get, oh man, this is so different from what my parents brought me up with. It's so imparting. So many children who've come out of harder setups being far more enabled than the kids who have been pampered and brought up in the most conventional setup, because they've not seen life, they've been told fairy tales that the life will be like this, and then life happens. So I'm really okay, let my son live with it, let people question him, let him get a harder skin, let him develop an attitude that I have a different life and that's what it is.
Wonderful to talk to both of you, Tusshar Kapoor, Ekta Kapoor. Tusshar, I highly recommend the book to anyone, man, woman, any or whatever they want to identify themselves as. It really is a wonderful parenting guide, and it's a wonderful guide to life. And Ekta, of course, everything that you do is always wonderful to watch.
Ms. Bamzai,
Thank you so much.
It's a fantastic thing to be on this chat with you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Yes.
Thank you both.
It went by so fast. I don't know how fast the time went, but I have a request with the organizers of Arth. If you could send me a video of this chat, I want to post it.
Can I also post it on?
Oh, please.
I've enjoyed it completely. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
My idol. Bye.